Thank you for being here with us. For those of you who are not familiar with Ishan, I just want to do a brief introduction for you. We're welcoming him back for another discussion about spiritual care with patients of the Hindu faith. Ishan holds a doctorate in alternative medicine. He is the founder of Yoga of Immortals, and he is Hospice of Cincinnati's preferred consultant for meditative modalities. It's important to note that Ishan's been recognized and conferred with awards for his work by governments across the globe, including an award from the UK Parliament for his groundbreaking research in integrative non-pharmaceutical meditative intervention. For local interest, it's pretty cool that we have he's been gifted the honor of Ishan Shivanand Day on December 7th, 2019 by Mayor John Cranley of Cincinnati, Ohio, due to Ishan's teaching of his life-changing courses. So it's really exciting to have that award. And I only recently knew we had an Ishan Shivanand Day. So that's super exciting for all of us. So welcome. We're really excited to have you here, Ishan, and really looking forward to your conversation today.
Thank you, ma'am. I welcome you all. I salute you and I salute the divine within all of you. Before we begin, I would like to tell you a few stories from the Puranas. So, in Indian texts, literatures, we have Vedas, which are texts that are extremely difficult to read, to comprehend, to study. So they are generally reserved for the most educated people in the theology. Then we have the Upanishads, which may have easier language, but their philosophical discussions are reserved for again people who have interest and understanding of philosophy. So anybody who reads the Upanishads may take a long time to decipher their meaning. So for the general population, the Puranas are the go-to, because Puranas are storytelling. It is extremely important to understand the significance stories play in a Hindu's life. I'll give a personal example. A few days ago, I had to write a script for this book that I am writing, and the editor reached out to me, and she was a bit unhappy because she was looking at the script and she said I relied too much on stories. And then I tried to make her understand the cultural sensitivities of somebody who comes from the Hindu faith. I tried to explain to her that the most prevalent sacred texts in India are the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, which themselves are stories. Bhagavad Gita, which is accepted, read, understood by people around the world, is part of a story. Even sacred texts like Tripura Rahasya, it is a story in a story in a story. So after almost 20 minutes of lecture, out of which I do not think she got CME points, but hopefully she understood and she got off my back and allowed me to write the book that I wanted to, using the tools that I could. Because in ancient times, in India, the faith leaders, the spiritual leaders, whenever they wanted to comfort the general population, They knew that they could not rely on the Vedas. They could not rely upon the Upanishads because of the extreme difficulty that may come in comprehending these eternal truths. So they developed another tool, the tool of Puranas, the tool of storytelling. And storytelling was extremely comforting. Storytelling was nice because the Vedas told us God is everywhere. Aham Brahmasmi, the universe is within me. Imagine if to a little child you are trying to explain this truth, it becomes difficult.
Mhm.
So they developed a nice story of this version of the divine that is sitting on top of a mountain, and he has a son who has an elephant head as its head, and that immediately captures the imagination of the person. He gets connected to the story, and maybe through
Krishna.
that story he will find a way to go to his eternal truths. We rely upon the Puran for the simplicity. So Puran are basically stories of various gods. We have the Shiv Mahapuran, which is the stories of Shiva, and we have the other Purans. One of the texts that I heavily relied upon is Garur Puran, which is again a story of Lord Vishnu describing life after death. So, coming back to the story, there is this lady called Chunchula. Now, Chunchula lives with her husband and she lives a life of extreme debauchery. A lot of sin goes on in her life. She is living in a time where divinity is paramount, where personal spirituality is extremely important, but she lets go of all the divine truths, universal truths. Think of any sin that comes to your mind. She, along with her husband, partakes in them. Soon, the wrath of nature prevails. The husband gets sick and the husband dies. Then, Chunchula also becomes sick. She is in pain. So she is walking, and she rests under a tree. As fate would have it, in front of where she chose to rest is a divine man who is sitting and who is contemplating the true nature of God. He is meditating upon the mantra Om Namah Shivaya. Om, the universal sound from which all creation comes. Namah Shivaya is the divine vibration of the five elements. The holy man continues to say this mantra Om Namah Shivaya, and in the simplest forms of storytelling talks about the nature of God. As Chunchula listens to this, her heart fills with peace. Her pain goes away. Now imagine
These are
this,
death rituals
a
that we do.
lifetime of sin, a lifetime of negativity, and just sitting in front of that holy man, listening to the story and the mantra, the story with the mantra. So even when the Purans are talked about, the Purans are supplemented with bhajan, mantra, and meditation. Bhajan is a form of singing, like gospel. But in bhajan, the person who is partaking into the activity entices everybody to get involved. So, bhajan, mantra, meditation supplements the Puran, and in doing so, a person completely gets engaged. So, Chunchula completely engaged, and just a few hours of this activity transforms her. Something changes, switch is flipped inside her brain. She starts to become happy. She starts to feel a peace in her heart that has eluded her for an eternity. She is blessed. She is healed. And in that moment, she attains moksha, liberation. Liberation from the cycle of life and death. But the story gets interesting now and useful for people who help in end of life. So Chunchula, when she attains moksha and peace, she goes to the holy man and says, listening to your truths have helped me let go of all attachments. I thank you. I surrender. Saying this, she leaves her body and she has achieved moksha. So she has gone to the highest state. Now she is in peace. She is in a place which is like heaven, but not heaven in the Western sensibilities. This is the Shiv Lok. So the God to whom she got connected to, she is in her realm. So she is living her life extremely happily. She is in bliss. She has achieved moksha and she is with the wife of God. So Shiva, Parvati. And when she is with Parvati, one day she has a thought that I had this husband who was a sinner. What happened to him? I have achieved such bliss. I am in a state of tranquility. I somehow have reached where I have. I want to know what happened to my husband. So the goddess sits, meditates, and tells Chunchula that he is a Brahma Rakshas. Brahma Rakshas means like a ghost, but an evil ghost. You know, the type of ghost after which ghostbusters go. The type of ghost that just doesn't want to do ghostly things but want to haunt people and do naughty things. So he is a Brahma Rakshas. Now this is again a concept very pertaining to the Hindu mind, the concept of Yatana Sharir. Yatana Sharir means this is a physical body. Now this physical body is made up of Panchbhut, 5 elements. When we die, and if we have unresolved issues, then a person may create a Yatana Sharir, a body that is just there to experience pain and suffering. And that body is created by the unresolved emotions that we are going to have. The stronger the unresolved emotion, the stronger the pain, the fear, the sorrow, the worse yoni a person gets. A yoni is think of yoni as the type of birth. So there are 72 lakh yonis, 7,200,000 yonis that a person can achieve after death, which consists of all plant life, all animal life, and yatana sharirs, bodies made up of emotion. And with the physical body, we can feel pain, we can feel joy. With the physical body, we can feel fear, we can feel courage. But with the yatana sharir, it is just eternal suffering. So it is that unresolved issue which we are replaying again and again and again and again. So Brahma Rakshas is that person, that ghost who is in that state of suffering eternally. Because with the physical body, we have the tools to change our mind. But now, when the physical body is gone, we do not have any tool. So that eternity of suffering continues. So when Chunchula sees her husband on planet Earth, in this Yatana Sharir, in this yoni of Brahma Rakshas, she feel pity, she feel compassion. If only all wives were like Chunchula. But she goes to the goddess and says, can we do something for him? Is there anything that can be done so that his soul can also experience that which I experience? So the goddess says, we will arrange the same storytelling that you experience for him. So the goddess tells some of her divine goons to go and whoop the Brahma Rakshas ghost and get him to this location. So, I don't know, imagine divine mafia then going to get the Brahma Rakshas and then tying him up and bringing to the location of the goddess. So there, on top of a stick, he is tied and kept. And that stick has seven um, when you see a bamboo stick, it is like this, and then this, and then this, and then this. So it has seven gauntein. So seven, I don't know what the English word for this is. So this, the thing where it's like this, and then smooth, and then this. So it has seven of those, and on top of that, the husband, who is Brahma Rakshas, is tied. A great holy man from earth is called. And he starts to then do the same thing. Om Namah Shivaya. He does the mantra. Then he does the bhajan, the singing, which can be Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. He does the meditation. Connect to the mantra with your breath. Inhale, Om Namah Shivaya. Exhale, Om Namah Shivaya. So 3 versions of the same divinity. Mantra for the mind, meditation for the subconscious, and bhajan for the energy, supplemented with the storytelling. as the holy man continues his divine work, the Brahma Rakshas who is witnessing this divinity, what start to happen is one by one, the ganthe start to burst. Boom, boom, boom. And finally, when the last gant opens, where Brahma Rakshas was instead a divine sort of prince charming of a soul appears. Now this is also very important metaphor, the seven ganthe, because in the yogic principles, a person has seven chakras: the crown, the third eye, the throat, the heart. Now these chakras are what you can call energy centers that process emotion. So think of it in this manner. The Hindu believes in yogic principles that every person has capacity to process all the information and stimulus that is around him. So imagine if this is our heart chakra. Our heart chakra has the ability to process negative energy. But because we are human, we let us imagine heart chakra can process 6 liters of negative energy. Now, I am just giving an estimate of measurement. I am sure negative energy doesn't have, and oh my god, this is America. So 6 ounces of negative energy, uh, yeah, something like that. But we in our life, instead of 6 ounces of negative energy, get experience of 10,000 ounces of negative energy. So what will start to happen? The heart chakra will start to clog. And when the heart chakra clogs, our system will not work as it is supposed to. So our soul, when it's leaving our body, it is said that if it leaves from the last gateway, the Sahasrara, that is from where we will achieve moksha, enlightenment, Kapalbhati. That is why in the Hindu death ritual also, a son who is burning the father's body will take a stick and then hit it at the skull, the burning head. And the objective is that I have opened the head of my father, so his soul will now leave from here, and it is then he will achieve moksha. And why the metaphor? Because if there are blockages, let us say the heart represents emotional blockage of sorrow, the navel represents emotional blockage of trauma, the swadhisthana or the uh, sex chakra represents emotional baggage of guilt and self-loathing. So if these blockages are there, my soul cannot rise up to this point, cannot leave from this point, cannot achieve the ultimate stage. So when the seven ghat open up, finally the husband reached his divine state from the Brahma Rakshas state. So the Brahma Rakshas state was also his own creation. The divine state was his truth. So he reached his truth, he thanked his wife, and he took his place in the divine cosmos. Now, what is wonderful here are three things. Number one, Chunchula is at the point of death when she hears the story. Just before the point of death, she is in pain, she is in suffering, She has had a lifetime of sorrow and sin. But at the point of death, she is exposed to divinity and she achieves moksha. The second, husband is already dead and the family does something for a death husband, and the husband after death achieves moksha through the effort of the family. This is extremely important to understand the Hindu mindset, because at the time of death, if spirituality becomes part of end of life process, the Hindu believes it is his chance to achieve the moksha. Because even in the previous lectures, when I discussed with you Gita, one way of moksha is you live a life, a certain life, and you achieve liberation. You become Jivan Mukt. Jivan Mukt is liberated while you are alive. And the second way to moksha is you could not live a life that could make you Jivan Mukt. But if you have the proper death, you can become Mukt. So, Chunchula represents in the Hindu mind the power, the importance, the significance of a spiritual death. The second thing, what we can learn from this story, the husband who is already dead and the family is making an effort to bring liberation to the husband, can be a form of grief management, can be a form of coping mechanism, or it can be a form of understanding the role the family has to play and the expectation that the dying person has from the family. So the mother and the father are literally looking at the child and thinking, you bugger, I get you into Ivy League, you get me into heaven. As simple as that. Maybe that's why Indians don't have student debt. The parent is ready to, pay for whatever need to be paid, because the parent is thinking, eventually this guy has to get me there. Because just in case I did not live a good life, I did not have a good death, then maybe this person will do these good things as it is written in the Purana, and I will be a Brahma Rakshas and my granthis will open and I will reach to the ultimate state. So the second thing we learn is how intricate this whole process is for the family. How continuous this process is. And the third thing that we learn is the ease with which such divinity can be introduced in the point of death or post death or grief counseling for the family who is facing death. In this story, the protocols that were used was Puran storytelling. And storytelling is just of God. So in this case, it is the Shiv Mahapuran. So it is the story of Shiva, how Shiva got married, how Shiva had kid, Leela, just listening to that, and supplementation of the Puran with mantra, bhajan, and meditation. That being said, let us continue in today's session. I just wanted to tell you this story because I want you to understand how colorful, how dynamic the Hindu imagination is. There are vibrant gods, there is vibrant energies, there is reincarnation, there is mukti, there is guru, there is flow, and there are so many stories. So many stories. To everything, a Hindu will associate a story. There is a story for Saraswati, goddess of knowledge. There is a story for Shiva, the goddess of the god of destruction. There is a story of Vishnu, and then there are 10 stories of his 10 births. Then there is the story of Brahma. Then there is the story of the Purana. So many stories. And imagine, we are trying to remember our story of last night's party of who drank which rosé. And the Hindu is juggling so many stories in his head. So story is a big tool that we can utilize, supplemented with meditation, mantra, bhajan. So today, our objective, practical guidance, providing culturally competent care. So let us begin with importance of cultural sensitivity, awareness, and addressing biases and stereotypes. So when it comes to the cultural sensitivity, then I think there are a few key spiritual beliefs that we have talked about, and I can go through with you again. And the core key concept when it comes to life and death for the Hindu belief system is reincarnation and liberation. So reincarnation is continuation of the cycle. The cycle could be reincarnation of the 72 lakh yonis. It could be the reincarnation of the Yatna Sharir, or it could be the reincarnation of just the human existence again and again and again. And from this reincarnation, the ultimate goal is mukti, moksha, liberation. The other part is the importance of family involvement. As I said, in the Hindu mind, at the time of death, the family plays a key role because the family has the power to take some action which will benefit the dying person. In a lot of the world's theologies, you are the doer. But in the Hindu mind, somewhere in the history of the theology, liberation becomes a personal effort as well as a community effort. that no soul left behind. We take and we help. Even when I talk to you about Ganga, the story of Ganga, and how Ganga came on planet Earth, Bhagirath was the saint who was meditating, and he got to know that a lot of his ancestors are in Yatana Sharir. Yatana Sharir, again, this body that they have made of suffering, that they are now not even reincarnating, now they are stuck in certain forms and just going through eternal suffering. So Bhagirath wanted that his ancestors find peace. The concept is that we are a sum total of our ancestors. So in our cells, we carry the DNA of our ancestors. So if our ancestor is somewhere in pain, then that pain finds a way to reach us. So effort must be made by the one who is living to help the one who is dying so that they can find peace, because just like their pain finds a way to reach us, even their peace will find a way to reach us. So understanding the role of the family is extremely important, and then understanding the tools that can be used. Today I talked about another tool, which is katha, storytelling. At the time of death, a lot of families or Hindu sects rely upon katha. So just like Chunchula was experiencing the Shiv Mahapuran Katha, the story of Shiva, there are other kathas that are said, which could be uh, stories from the Ramayana, stories from the Mahabharata, stories from Vishnu Puran, stories from other scriptures that are utilized. So katha, meditation, mantra, bhajan. Bhajan can also be Sankirtan, which is again singing certain mantras in certain ways to create energy that is positive and supplemental to a person's death in a way that is helping them to let go of the emotions that they are holding on to. Also, the other two things that can be added to the tools can be prayer. Prayer could be in simple layman language, Hindi, English, or it could be sophisticated, educated prayers in Sanskrit. So a prayer could be something like the Gayatri Mantra. Om Bhurbuva Swaha Tatsaviturvareniyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhyo Yo Na Prachodayat. But this is a complicated prayer, difficult prayer. A simple prayer could be, Hey Shiv Shiva, I invoke your blessing, I invoke your healing, I invoke your compassion. Hey Shiv Shiva is fill in the blank. You can put in the name of that God which is culturally sensitive to the subject at hand. And the prayer could be as simple as, Oh dear God, underline, Shiva, can be exchanged with Vishnu, can be exchanged with Krishna, can be exchanged with Ram, can be exchanged with so many more. I invoke your compassion, I invoke your bliss. I invoke your healing. I pray, let this soul experience your healing. Through your grace and divinity, let this soul be liberated. Through your compassion, let this soul let go of all his karmic bondages. So, a prayer must have culturally sensitive terms. So, what is the Hindu afraid of? The Hindu is afraid of the karmic bondages. The Hindu is afraid of Yatana Sharir. The Hindu is afraid of the yonis. The Hindu is afraid of the reincarnation process. So, our prayer can be developed in the manner which, number one, starts with invocation. Number two is the instruction, the request. And number three is the gratitude. So, invocation is I invoke the healing, I invoke the compassion, I invoke the Shakti, the energy. The instruction is I pray, let the soul be free through your grace of all karmic bondages. Let the soul reach the highest states of liberation and mukti through your grace. Let the soul find peace. And the prayer ends with gratitude. I thank Shiva, underline, for the healing, for the compassion, for the grace, or for the mukti that is being given, that is being blessed onto the soul. So, in these three parts, the prayer can be made in a simple language, keeping into consideration the keywords that will help the family with the grief and that will help the person who is on the deathbed go through their thoughts so that they can connect to the eternal truth. So, katha, bhajan, mantra, meditation, prayer, ritual. Ritual is extremely fascinating part of the Hindu culture. There are rituals that are new, there are rituals that are ancient. Ancient rituals could be considered yagya, archana, puja. Yagya is the fire ceremony. Archana is praying to a certain deity in certain ritualistic manners where certain offerings are made in a certain way that appease the deity. And puja is again a few protocols that are done to please the deity, which could be as simple as the Hindu bell that goes ding 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 ding, offering of the incense, offering of the mantras in that certain way. To show the importance of ritual, I will tell you another story from the Purana. So the story goes that on a certain night that is extremely divine, a hunter was hunting for deer. So to hunt the deer, he saw a tree in front of it and he climbed it. Unknowing to him, the tree was Bel Patra. Now, Bel Patra is a certain leaf that is extremely, extremely loved by Shiva. Unknowing to the hunter, underneath the tree is a ling. A ling is the Nirakar, the formless form of Shiva, which is an oval stone, and it was there. So the hunter is on the tree, the Bel Patra tree, and he has a pouch that is carrying some water. So he is hunting the deer at a certain time, which is a sacred time according to the Hindu faith. The deer comes in front of him and he shakes a little to take aim with his bow and arrow. And when he shakes, a leaf from the tree falls on to the ling form of Shiva, and little bit water from the pouch falls onto the ling swarup of Shiva. And that happens 4 times during the night, the 4 times that are sacred times when unknowingly he's shaking his booty and little bit leaf is falling down and little bit water is falling down. Now this man dies, and when he dies, because he is a hunter, because he's a common general person, death comes to take him. And not even death also sublets the taking of his soul to minor workers that are working for death. Apparently there's a whole bureaucracy. So the person is about to go, but just then the Shiva Ganas appear, the angels of Shiva. And the angels of Shiva say, hey, death, you cannot take him. We have to take him because this man is liberated. And the angels of death say, how can this man be liberated? He has done nothing. But the angels of Shiva said, you don't know what he has done? He has offered Bel Patra to Shiva, with water to Shiva, and Shiva really likes the Bel Patra and the water at the certain time. So the guy goes, ha! And he goes with the angels of Shiva and he achieves moksha and liberation. I tell you this so you can do a deep dive into the Hindu's mindset. Hindus love rituals because of stories like this, because they have listened to these stories all their life, that even if by mistake I am doing this ritual, just doing, not even feeling it, not even wanting to do it, if just I am partaking in it, I am getting absolution. That is why if you ever go to a Hindu temple, you will always see the wife emotionally engaged into doing the ritual and the husband in a zombie mode, just going through the motions of doing the ritual, because he has heard a story that even if you put a leaf in a certain way on a certain deity, that equals to liberation. So the rituals that I talk to you of offering water to Tulsi, of putting a Tulsi leaf under the bed of a dying person, of putting a Tulsi leaf in the mouth of a dying person, of saying a certain prayer to the dying person, of saying a certain mantra to the dying person. These rituals carry extreme significance and equivalent to either a peaceful death or fear of death. Rituals, in my experience, provide extreme comfort. you can create your own set of rituals that supplement the Hindu understanding. The ritual could be as simple as putting a Bhagavad Gita on the bedside of the dying person. The ritual could be putting Hanuman Chalisa, Ramayana at the bedside of a dying person. The Tulsi plant in the room of a dying person. A Rudraksh mala can be procured if there is a Shaivite. A Rudraksh could be put in the bedside of a dying person. This is a Rudraksh mala. This is like a rosary, which is for extremely sacred symbol for a Shaivite. So if in his hand a Rudraksh is given, there is great peace and divinity. If for the Shaivite, a shivling can be placed and water, just something as simple as putting water to that stone, can bring great comfort to the dying person. Rituals as when greeting the patient, instead of hello, hi, hi is not nice for Hindu sensibility, because hi is a lamentation. So when somebody dies in India, the woman beats her chest and says hi. So when a person goes to a Hindu who's dying and says hi, so the person may think, am I dead? Am I the soul? What happened? Why is she saying hi, hi? So instead of these greetings like Om Namah Shivaya, Ram Ram, Jai Shri Krishna, according to the sensibilities. So if there is a Shaiv will be very happy when you greet him with Om Namah Shivaya, and the old person will say to you, Om Namah Shivaya. Or if he's a Gujarati Vaishnav, then you say Jai Shri Krishna, and the person, oh my God, the family will bring you so much food. And you say Jai Shri Krishna, and they are going to say Jai Shri Krishna. Or a universal greeting that everybody does, Shaiv, Vaishnav, Ram Ram. Ram Ram is just taking the name of God 2 times, Ram Ram, Ram Ram. So greeting can be done according to the Hindu sensibilities, and goodbye could be according to the Hindu sensibilities, something as simple as Shanti. So Om Shanti Shanti, after every prayer, after every ritual, the Hindu says Om Shanti 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 Hi. I will repeat Om Shanti 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 Hi, which means let there be peace. The activity that I have done with whatever brain power I had, I did it according to my sensibilities and limitations. So I pray to the universal consciousness through my action, let there be peace. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So this ritual of greeting and summoning peace before finishing the interaction can also have great significance in the life, end of life care for the Hindu patient. So the protocols that we have, the tools that we have, mantra, bhajan, meditation, katha, prayer, ritual. Katha can be storytelling. So if we can get a few story from the Bhagavad Gita, like I said, chapter 2, chapter 8, from the Bhagavad Gita, there are verses in English that are available. So chapter 2, chapter 8, in the lecture I have talked about the specific verses, so maybe you can go back to that and you can see which verses I am talking about, so that storytelling can be done in English on the bedside of the dying person, and that will give them extreme comfort. Or story from the Ramayana, little bit story can be taken out and it can be said, that will bring great comfort. Mantra, there are simple mantras that can be learnt, memorized and said as a greeting or as a meditative protocol to the person. The mantra could be Hare Krishna, the mantra could be Ram Ram. The mantra could be Om Namah Shivaya. The mantra could be Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Or if you are feeling extremely ambitious, the mantra could be Gayatri mantra Om Bhur Bhava Swaha Tatsaviturvare Niyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Na Prachodayat. Depends upon your ambition. But you can get away with something as simple as Ram. Not to be confused with ram or rum. That is different type of happiness. But here we want ram. Then we have meditation. Meditation can be as simple as asking the person to become aware of his breath. Breath is extremely important for the Hindu mind, because it is through the breath a person is connected to God. Breath is a rope. One end of the rope is with us, the other end of rope is with God. Whenever God pulls through this rope, we let go of the breath. We are not letting go of the breath. We are letting go of the prana, the life force energy. That is why when a person die, we say pran tyag diye. Means he's let go of the life energy, the final exhalation. So we can tell the person, become aware of his breath. Inhale with mantra, exhale with mantra. We can ask the person, let the breath become slow and deep. In my own experience as giving end of life care, what I would like to do was I would put mantra in a loop in the room of the person who is dying according to their sensibilities. So the mantra is going to go on a loop, on a loop. So like Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, and the mantra is playing in the room on a loop. And I would just go to the person whenever I would meet them. I would say, listen to the mantra, connect your breath. And then even if that person was, let us say, in extreme pain or in a um, uh, what is the word when some drugs are given so that a person is in sleep little bit, it is not seduced, no,
Sedate.
sedated.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was saying the patient is seduced. No, the person is sedated. Sedated. I apologize, English not my strong suit. See, at least I know seduce was wrong. Growth. So the patient is sedated, and even at that time, the mantra is going on. I would just sit next to them and I would say, connect to the mantra, breathe with the mantra. And then I would just breathe next to them with the pace of the mantra. And I will see many times, even the sedated person's breath will start to match my breath. So a part of them, no matter where they are, they can connect to the mantra, they can connect to the breath. So meditation is that tool. And then bhajan. Bhajan is you can learn a simple tune, and you can, whenever spending time with the patient or trying to provide care to the patient, it is so very easy because storytelling requires effort, mantra requires ambition. Bhajan is something as simple as uh, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. So a few tunes can be Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So ISKCON has done a wonderful job with creating certain tunes that are very, very easy. So I would recommend you listen to some of their tunes, or even I have done a great job in creating certain tunes for the Shaivite. So you'll find me on YouTube trying my level best to sing, to create that tool. It can be as simple as Om Namah Shivaya. So the old person who's there will associate you with that joy. So you are just speaking that mantra, or you are just saying that bhajan, and you are creating that beat, and you are providing not just care for the person on the deathbed, but also providing grief counseling to that family member through something as simple as clapping your hands, saying a tune. And I would really recommend, for the joy of the Indian patient, try moving your head. This brings comfort. So if you are saying bhajan, Hare Krishna, it is just familiarity. Familiarity brings hope and peace. So I said katha, I said mantra, I said meditation, I said bhajan, I said prayer, invocation, instruction, gratitude. A prayer, a script can be formulated where I invoke the healing, the blessings, the compassion, the Shakti of the deity. Then I pray the instruction to help the soul release all his karmic bondages. I pray for the healing, for the blessing to help the soul release all karmic debts, karmic bondages, karmic debts. I pray to the healing, blessing, compassion of Shiva or whichever god to help the soul achieve enlightenment, help the soul achieve mukti. I surrender the soul to your grace, your compassion, and your healing. Gratitude. I am grateful to Shiva for giving healing, for freeing the soul of the karmic debts, for helping the soul achieve mukti. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So just these 4 steps in a prayer will bring great comfort to both the family and the subject. And again, I am saying family because the death process is as important for the family member as for the dying person. The dying person, the death process is easy. For the family is where their homework begins. Hindus like to complicate everything: marriage, death, birth. Nothing is as simple as that. Everything is a ceremony. Everything is big, vast, huge. So a child will say, I want to get married. But the real homework is of the parents. So they'll be like, oh yeah, yeah, it's so much work. And when the parent is saying, I'm going to die, the real homework is for the child. Ay, 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 now my parent has to die. Now I have to do this. I have to do that. I have to be spiritual for certain time period. Finally, the rituals. The rituals are tools that we have. The rituals can be ceremonial offering, something as simple as if you can have um, picture of the prominent deity, picture of Shiva, picture of Krishna, picture of Ram, and if the bedside the picture is given, and the ritual can be as simple as giving flower to the photo. Remember the story? Even by mistake, he shake his booty, leaf fall, enlightenment. So just giving of that flower is going to be extremely comforting. So when you are going to the patient, you can take some flower and you can give that to the flower to the patient, and you can put the photo next to the person bedside, and you can ask them to hold the flower and give it to the picture, and giving to the picture by saying a simple mantra. So if it is Vishnu, something as simple as Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Or if it is Shiva, Om Namah Shivaya. So this archana, this puja is going to really help, this ritual, to provide the care. So we go to the importance of cultural sensitivity and awareness. I think the importance here is, I can put it extremely simply, it is a fundamental right of every single human being to have care that is tailored to their thoughts of spirituality, because it is our freedom to practice our faith. And in life, we have freedom to practice our faith according to our sensibilities. But as we become old, we are like a child in the way that our freedoms, we do not have them, but we are given by those around us. And it will be so sad for a person's mindset at end of life if he do not have that freedom to practice death like he practiced life. And we do not want the Hindu to be sad end of life, because if he's sad end of life, he may become Brahma Rakshas, and we do not want Brahma Rakshas in our hospice care. We want joy, and especially as we have learned according to the Hindu Vedas, the Hindu Upanishads, and the Hindu Purans, that whatever mindset I have at end of life, what Krishna said even in the Bhagavad Gita, what mindset you have at the end of life, that is the state you will achieve after life. So why culturally sensitive care is extremely important at end of life, because that will help us provide that gift to the Hindu. So imagine we are not just helping the Hindu, but what great service we are doing. Some person does service by giving food to a hungry, and these small things that we do may provide enlightenment to the Hindu. Eternal bondage. So imagine it is considered great uh, good deed to end hunger of a person. Now imagine what good deed, what punya is good deed, that you are ending a eternal cycle of reincarnation through these few practices. So it is good for the patient, and it is such a good service that is being provided by us also. And it is said that the one who cares for the bhakt, meaning the devotee of the deity, is blessed himself with liberation. So that is why I believe it is extremely important that we can provide that care. I think overall quality of the care can be enhanced by conversation with the family, and based on the conversation, tailored plan can be created. And if we have a few structures in our arsenal, meaning if we have book like Bhagavad Gita, we have that chapters that I talked about, we have uh, a few mantras that if we can play in that room. We have a tulsi pot, we have a flower, we have the few rudraksh beads, then we can provide care to a plethora of the Hindu patient by mixing and matching based upon the conversation that you have had with the patient or the patient family. Uh, Now proceeding forward, understanding communication styles and preferences based on effective communication with the Hindu patient. Now this is going to be a continuous effort as you proceed on this journey, because when we talk about understanding the cultural context, then there are two things that are extremely important, which is the cultural awareness and the respect for the diversity of the thought process. Because, as I said, above all, a Hindu values stories, and each story is taken as a universal truth. So, if we can somehow develop trust with the Hindu patient, then that respect for that person's diversity can come into question. Now, the trust building activity, as I said, would be the greeting. The greeting is the most important part. So if some communication has been done with the patient's family, then the trust building activity can start from there. We can bring the deity to the bedside. We can bring the sacred text to the bedside. We can bring that symbolism in that care. And just bringing that symbolism in that care will create a trust between you and the patient. And that will help for the patient to receive the care and for you to provide that care. And once that trust is given, then the simplicity of the modalities that I have talked to you, it will not just help with the care, but provide great joy in the person's life. Building trust could be, as I said, the greeting, it could be the introduction, it could be the empathy and the compassion, it could be the singing of the bhajan with the patient, it could be um, involving yourself as you are singing the bhajan. Because in India, satsang is one of the most powerful spiritual tools that are utilized. And satsang is when community engages in the protocols that we were discussing earlier. Why satsang is important? Because think of it in this manner. Satsang literally means in company of divinity. So think of it like rock climbing. When somebody is rock climbing with his family, then a rope is utilized to tie everybody together. When one person falls, the other 5 people will hold on to the weight of the person who is fallen and help them so that they do not die. The concept of satsang is important because the Hindu mindset understands that there are the old, there are the young, there are the depressed that cannot engage in the said divine activity themselves, so they partake in the divine activity that somebody else is doing, and just by partaking in somebody else's divine activity, so somebody else is doing the mantra, somebody else is doing the bhajan, somebody else is doing the katha, and I am just witnessing, and me just witnessing somebody doing something that is divine helps me get the positive benefit, gets me the good karma. So a lot of Hindus will travel far and wide to witness a holy man engage in his divine activity, and that could be a satsang. So you can provide satsang to the subject by engaging in the set protocols, even if the old person is incapacitated to engage in those divine protocols themselves. So if they are incapacitated, then through the law of satsang, if you give the flower next to them to the deity yourself, then a part of that good deed, that good ritual, go to them as well. Now, one thing that can be utilized and I would recommend is interpreters. So, if interpreters, what is the thing in UN when somebody is speaking, then somebody else is speaking in their own language? Interpreters,
Interpreters. Interpreters.
interpreter, that one. Yes. So Hindi is a common language that is spoken by a majority of Indians. English is spoken by a majority of Indians, but in my own experiences in North America, I have seen apparently there is a large chunk of Indians that do not know English. How they manage uh, in North America, even I don't know, but they are managing. So if there can be three accesses that can be provided through you to the South Asian subject. Number one, access to language. So if the person is lucky that they have a family, then that is amazing, because the family will do most of the heavy lifting for you when it comes to conversation, when it comes to cultural awareness, when it comes to diversity training, when it comes to making of a tailored plan. But if there is a subject that through the will of the universe doesn't have a family, then we may need access to their own thoughts, emotions, and their own spiritual inclinations. And if they do not have that language capacity, then interpreters. It's extremely important that access to language is provided, because yes, there are universal language that is spoken, like Om Shanti Shanti, that transcends any sect that a Hindu may be belonging to. But yes, when it comes to certain deities, it is extremely important that the language barrier is somehow uh, crossed. The second thing I would recommend is an access to a faith leader, or somebody who can provide difficult prayers. So you are providing easy prayers, but as I said, the more complicated the ritual, the more comfort the South Asian may feel. So if in the community we can locate certain faith leaders, and a weekly visit from the faith leader can be provided, and the job of that faith leader is just doing certain prayers in Sanskrit, because Sanskrit is extremely comforting to the Hindu mindset. Sanskrit is an ancient language. It is a language that the Hindu responds to subconsciously. He may not understand it, but it brings great peace in his heart. So if there is a faith leader that is proficient in certain prayers, and it doesn't even need to be a faith leader, it could be a community volunteer also that is expert in some forms of prayers, and their job is just to visit that the patients and do that satsang in the form of those prayers in Sanskrit to provide, then that would be very, very comforting to the Hindu mind. And also when those prayers are being said, they act as that ritual, they act as that bridge that can help the person cross from the freedom of reincarnation towards mukti. So access to language, access to the faith leader, or the community representative in a manner, who can do that ritual once a week. And that third is an access to sensory engagement. So sensory engagement could be food. I do not know end of life care if food is something that we consider, but a big part of Hindu ritual, prayer, and spirituality is prasad. Prasad literally means divine offerings. Now, prasad can't just be pizza or burger. Prasad is generally sweets and they are delicious. So if we can find somebody who make laddu, I, I don't know if Cincinnati has laddu or anything, but just that look of that prasad, just that smell of that prasad. Laddu are these small sweet treats that are offered toward, and the thing is, mantra can be deity specific, sect specific. Laddus transcend sects. Laddus transcend biases. Laddus transcend any form of stigma that the Hindu will have, and it will be such a strong form of trust building. Flower to the deity, laddu to the deity, or just a holy offering. So something like if somebody from the hospice care can just put the prasad to the deity and do a certain prayer, even if that prayer is as simple as Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, or a prayer as I offer the food to the divinity, then what happens is the food becomes prasad, and the prasad is now it is divine food. So like in Christianity we have holy water, or we have the communion, the blood of Christ, and so in the same manner the prasad is now extremely divine and spiritual. So even if little bit is given as prasad, and again according to the medical care that is being provided, we don't want an allergic reaction or something like that, but according to the medical care, according to the hospice care, if prasad can be put into the picture, it would be amazing. So sensory engagement through prasad, sensory engagement through certain smells like incense, chandan. It is extremely powerful because now we are engaging the subconscious, because since time immemorial, when a Hindu has gone to the temple, he has smelled incense. So sensory engagement could be as simple as seeing smoke. So smoke from the incense is very, very holy. So even if one incense stick is put, so an incense can be a nice offering. So the deity is there, the book is there, or the symbol is there, and then the incense is put in that room. Even if it is a small incense stick, while saying the mantra, Om Namah Shivaya, incense is again a beautiful ritual. And going back to the story, the guy shakes his booty, leaf falls, and it is considered the greatest karma. So even something as simple as giving an incense can provide great comfort to the person, and it is sensory engagement, and subconsciously we are creating a very safe environment, a safe, a comforting, a very home environment for that person. Because why a Hindu will not want to go or feel scared of going to the hospital is because it's a new place, and the new place has a different sensory engagement. There is always the smell of disinfectants and so many things, and we put a incense stick, and the Hindu comes, feels like home. We put prasad, feels like diabetes, oh sorry, feels like home. So it's they get engaged, they get comfort. Or sensory engagement through sounds, like the sound of bell, ganti. So certain time periods, Brahma Muhurat, Sandhya Kal. Sandhya Kal is the evening time. Evening time, when the sun is about to set. Then a ballpark figure that I can give you is from 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. And the Brahma Muhurat is the morning time. The ballpark figure, I forget Brahma Muhurat, because I do not think people in North America do Brahma Muhurat, because Brahma Muhurat is 4:30 a.m. to 6:30 a.m. and I don't want you to go to the patient at 4:30 a.m. and do ding 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 ding, because then they will say, "Oh Lord, lift me up." So the evening time, sensory engagement through sounds, sound of mantra, sound of bell, sound of bhajan. So access to that sensory engagement, because this is a universal language. If we can't talk with words, prasad, smell, sound is something that will really engage. Sight of flower, sight of deity, sound of mantra, sound of bell, smell of incense, smell of prasad, taste of prasad. And in my personal experience, when a subject is incapacitated because of neurological disorders, maybe dementia, Alzheimer, sensory engagement is what may bring a big smile on their face and a big smile on the family. Because in the Hindu patient, you are not just providing care for the dead person, you are providing care for the family member as well. They are intertwined together. Going forward, uh, hierarchy of the care that is being provided. Our cultural sensibility is that if there are elders and the family members are there, then how we address is generally through age. So age specific. So the eldest person in the room of the family member is greeted, then the young, then the young, and the youngest, it's no meaning. They are useless. So even if the elders are greeted in a certain manner, it can help in creating a bond with the patient and the family. Uh, Going forward, continuous learning. There are many things that I have taught you, and there are many things that you will learn from the patients. So I have given you a head start. As you will continue on walking on this path, and you are continuing on this emotion of providing culturally specific care, you will find that a patient that was closed opens up like a flower. And as they open up, they will start educating you. Because an old Hindu, if he is cognitively capable, loves nothing else but to educate people. And you will see this. You will say Om Shanti Shanti, and just for the heck of it, say it in a different accent, Om Shanti Shanti. And you will receive 20-minute lecture. Even you don't have to do satsang. Wink, wink. I am just telling you how to get away on the path of minimum resistance. The old person will give you lecture on what is Shanti, where she come from, on how her first maid who was cooking for her in India when she had a palace was also named Shanti, on how her daughter-in-law is also Shanti but is the most Ashanti person. And when all this will happen, try to make notes on what was relevant so that there can be continuous learning. In the first lecture, I told you there are many sects in Hindu Dharma, and I can only talk about a few standardized things. But emotion brings capability. Because you are walking on this path, you will find many avenues will open up through that patient interaction. So if you can listen also to the patient, if you can witness the non-verbal cues on what is bringing comfort to the patient, then over time you can develop a pathway that is going to be extremely beneficial. I want you to understand the fluidity of my instruction to you. There is no final truth in Sanatan Dharma. It is all very fluid. So when you will say certain mantras, when you will say certain rituals, when you will do certain things which are part of these protocols, you will find the efficacy of set protocols with certain type of people, and slowly you will develop something that is going to be extremely powerful and unique to you. So I cannot state the importance of awareness, because the more aware you are, the more powerful the continuous learning is going to be, and the more there is the continuous learning, the more competent you are going to become in providing that culturally specific care. And I also recommend reflection. So reflection can be a time with other uh, hospice HCP and HCW like yourself, so that there can be an adan pradan, a flow of thought, idea and experiences. So there can be feedback, there can be a common dialogue, there can be lessons that can be learned, there can be time that can be utilized, because if somebody has already learned that lesson and he shares with you through that feedback, then the same mistake does not need to be done, or that same good thing can be implemented on a much more broader uh, prospect. The other thing that I would recommend is, if some time can be taken to understand the key term and terminology. And I especially would like to thank Dr. Sadhna for this, because in the first lecture, I just went on and on using certain keywords and terminology, and I was not being culturally aware uh, the way I expect you to be culturally aware. And I heard a earful from Dr. Sadhna, because she can be mean when she needs to be. And then we made a list of certain keywords and terminology. I say we because she made it, but I said those words. But and I really want to thank her, because she's doing so much hard work in her own field of oncology and prostate research. But even though, and I remember that time she was in Brazil, so she was in between lectures, but she is so very passionate about the hospice field, and she loves this team and she loves all of you, that in between her lectures she was juggling um making the keywords and providing the list to you, so that the next lecture could be a bit more uh, effective. So if we can go through those words as we pray for Dr. Satna to be liberated through the grace of Shiva, and let go of all her karmic bondages of meanness that she gave to Ishan over not being culturally competent, as he taught cultural competency. And yes, so bless you, Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So it would be extremely beneficial, because that keyword and terminology can act as a very strong trust building activity. Just those terminologies. So instead of peace, when we say Shanti, instead of energy, if we say Shakti, instead of liberation, if we say Mukti, then suddenly the person's nervous system get engaged beautifully, and they can respond to you in a much better manner. Then, continuing forward, I have already touched upon how we can facilitate the ritual in the hospice setting, and addressing dietary needs can be a conversation that can be done with the family. And as I said, Prasad, that's excellent. We have discussed strategies for trust building with the Hindu patient and family. And we have discussed the importance of active listening, because that will help you develop further skills that will be extremely relevant pertaining to uh, the care. Um, Now, when it comes to case study and role playing, I think this is something that maybe Dr. Sadhna can help with, by going through certain cases, and based upon what we have discussed, how that said care can be provided, or if you think there are some questions based upon your own experiences, I can answer some of them. But before we do that, additional resources for further learning, I, as I requested or recommended, Bhagavad Gita, that is something that will really help understanding and learning from the philosophies of the Hindu mindset. Chapter 2 and chapter 8, extremely relevant. Kathopanishad, the story of Nachiketa. If we can just focus on that, I'm sure there are English versions of the same. And uh, Mandukya Upanishad. I can provide you with certain links that will help you understand the philosophies. In the previous chapters, I have recommended books on Hindu Dharma, But these books will not just, the ones I'm talking about, will not just help you care for the South Asian patient, but these are excellent work on the philosophy of death, on the philosophy of meaning, on the philosophy of life itself. So they can be an extremely relevant tool for personal growth as well as providing care, because this logos therapy, in the words of Viktor Frankl, um, meaning, finding meaning in grief, finding meaning in loss, finding meaning in life situation, is one of the most important work that an healthcare professional can provide to the subject and his family. And these philosophies can help you, not just help the subject, but also help your own mindset, because many times it is difficult to find meaning in the care that is being provided. Case in point would be COVID. When I was working with your team in the time of COVID, in post COVID in 2021, I listened to many of your stories where there was grief by the healthcare worker, where the healthcare worker saw themselves a victim of circumstances because they were not able to provide the care that they wanted to, because of the institutional policies that were being made, because of the collective trauma that society was facing. And that led to a lot of residue that even the healthcare professional was feeling. So at that time of crisis, such texts can help provide meaning. So Bhagavad Gita, Kathopanishad, Mandukya Upanishad is some of the reading that will really help you, in addition to the texts that I have already talked about. Coming back to point 5, uh, case study and role playing. So if there is any question pertaining to the same, I would love to answer in the best possible manner. I think we have a few minutes.
Ishan, this is Bill Loneman. I'm one of the chaplains at Hospice. Um, I really appreciate these teachings these past weeks. Thank you. And I practice in a Buddhist community. And as I was listening to you, you know, the connection between Buddhism and Hinduism is very great, very strong. Um, so I just wanted to mention that, I think, for the benefit of the other folks here, that by extension, a lot of what you have said will also apply to Buddhist patients that they might see. And with some variation, of course, I think in terms of cosmology, some of the divinity connections, the specific gods. But there's a lot of basic concepts here that Buddhism picked up from Hinduism. And so I just wanted to mention that. And if you have any comment on that in terms of that connection, that'd be great to hear. So thanks again.
So we have the concept of Tirthankars, um, kings, kings who go on the path of divinity. And a king has a certain mindset. So a king has the mindset of a doer. Make things happen, overcome inertia. An object at rest remain at rest until an outside force is applied upon it. So a king will apply the force to make things happen. So if you look at the Buddhist monk, it is a very tough path, but it is a path that he is pushing to overcome the inertia of reincarnation to achieve that liberation. Buddham Sharanam Gacchami, Sangham Sharanam Gacchami, Dhammam Sharanam Gacchami is extremely active roles that the monk is playing. Dhammam Sharanam Gacchami is I surrender to the teachings of Buddha and I will work according to the teachings of the Buddha. Sangham Sharanam Gacchami is I surrender to the community of Buddha and I will work for the welfare and the benefit of the community of the Buddha. And Buddham Sharanam Gacchami is I surrender to the Buddha. I will not think pain, I will not think hunger, I will not think misery, as long as I am walking the path of Dharma. So it's a very hands-on, tough approach where you are taking destiny into your own hand and living in a manner to liberate yourself. And the Bhakti Marg is completely opposite. The Bhakti Marg is, I am not the doer. God is the doer. I surrender to the divine will and I sit and sing. But the Buddhist monk, no. I will do bzzz. Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. Dig till you get water. So it is very powerful. It is literally the path of the rishis of ancient India. Whereas the rishi would sit till the time, as I gave the metaphor, dig till the time water comes out. Dig till the time Amrit comes out. And again, as the gentleman said, there are a lot of similarities. The family plays a key role in the death process. The katha can be different, whereas the bardo is being said at the time of Buddhist and the Gita is being said at the time of Hindu. But the key concepts are quite similar because the Vedas come from the rishis and the Buddhist monk is equivalent to the rishi when it comes to taking answerability to your fate and bringing that liberation. But again, the goal is the same. The goal is freedom from this eternal cycle. So that is where I would be in complete agreement with the gentleman. And many times you will find that the two communities are integrated in such a manner that it is very difficult to find a difference. But very key terminology is the difference. Whereas I am praying to Buddha versus I am praying to Shiva. But if you go much deeper into the theological implications, you will find there is no difference, because Chaitanya Atma, meaning the God is within us. So Buddha is somebody who is realized his godhood, and the same is with Shiva. Shiva is somebody who's realized his godhood. So they are just different name of the same path. Yes. I think that is all the time we have today. If there are any questions continuing to these lectures, I would love to answer them. I think Dr. Sadhana can help us in this. If there are any other resources that need to be provided, I would be happy to do the same. And I am always available to you as a resource, and anytime at all your team may feel a need uh, in this subject, I would be happy to help based upon my capability. So thank you so very much. It has been a pleasure and honor to spend this time with you, to converse with you. You have been extremely, extremely patient with me and my English. For that, I am grateful. And I pray that this divine work that you are doing, you have more strength, more power to continue this work. I applaud this desire within you to help people based upon their cultural needs. And I hope and pray that more people through your work get inspired to follow on your footsteps. The world needs the love and compassion that you so easily carry in your hearts. So thank you so very much.
Thank
Have
you,
a beautiful
Ishan.
day. I salute you and I salute the divine within all of you.
Thank you, Ishan. Thank you, Dr. Sadhna. We so love that you're here. Thank you for sharing this time with us.